About now. And we are all set to begin. So once again, my name is Mike. I am with the Clear Admit team. Clear Admit is a website geared towards folks interested in full-time MBA admissions. So if you are interested in schools like the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business or other MBA programs that are out there, come check us out if you have not already. A lot of really great free resources and advice to help you get through the application process. I know it can be a long, strenuous process for a lot of folks. So we really try to put out as much information as we can from our experience working at many different schools to make the process a little bit easier. I'm not going to say it's very easy, but a little easier for you as you're going through it. So come check us out when you have a chance. Clearadmit.com once again. But today's session is all about the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business. We have Kara and Lee from the admissions team over at UGA who will be leading today's session. Everything about experiential learning in the MBA experience. It's a really important piece. You'll hear a lot of different things about curriculum in MBA programs, whether it's case method or experiential learning or lecture, and all of them offer different things to you as a student in those programs. So today is going to be really focused on experiential learning, what makes it important, and everything else that they have to share, and obviously a lot of questions about UGA as well. I will stop there. I'll pass it over to Kara and Lee. Thanks for leading the session today. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to be here and to share a little bit more about not only what makes our program, I feel like, special and unique in the way that we kind of are focused on applied learning, but also things that you can be thinking about as you are researching programs. This is a great way to identify things that are meaningful to you and what you want to get out of this MBA experience, because it is not just about coming to class and doing the homework. It's about so much more, which I hope you all are very aware of at this point in your MBA journey. So we'll introduce ourselves briefly. This lovely picture is our trip to Cape Town, South Africa, one of our international residencies that was in 2020. So I was able to travel on this trip. It was absolutely spectacular. And we'll talk a little bit more about the international residency program here just in a little bit. This group of students that we went with, I think we were the last flight out of Cape Town before our world kind of shut down for a while back in 2020. So we're excited to bring these international residency experiences back, but obviously we're doing so much more as well. So again, my name is Kara Saunier. I am Director of Admissions for the full-time MBA and our MS in Business Analytics program. I'm joined here by Lee Britton, who is our Associate Director of Admissions, but she's got a lengthy career working for our program and in higher ed. And I'll let her share a little bit more about herself here in just a moment. I'll take this opportunity to kind of give you a little bit of an introduction to some of our teammates, Dana Barnhart and Ashley Tiller. We are a small admissions office, and so anytime you have questions about our program or the MBA application process, you're going to get one of us for. And so, you know, we're obviously here to help you through this journey and really want to be your support team. I have been with this program for nearly 11 years now. I've been in several different roles and just recently took over as director in August. And I'm very excited about all the stuff that's kind of happening in our world. You know, I have had the benefit of seeing a lot of change and growth in our program specifically in the time that I've been here. And I really do feel like the experiential learning pieces that we have added to our program, making some more market-driven changes through getting feedback from current students, alum, recruiters, has really made a huge difference in how far we've come. But I'll turn it over to Lee to share more about herself.
Thank you, Kara. I'm Lee Britton. I work in the Office of Admissions for the MBA and the MSBA program, as Kara mentioned. I am relatively new to actually being in an admissions office for the past few weeks. But I have been with the MBA program for 4.5 years. I started in my role with student engagement. As the students have been admitted in the program, that's when I was able to connect with students and make sure they have a good experience in the program. I worked really closely with MSBA students through the admissions process and in student engagement, and now have an opportunity to do admissions full time, and excited to be a part of this team. I have worked in higher ed for 12 plus years. I have worked at 3 other institutions in more of a program coordinator, graduate specialist role, and moved to Georgia 5 years ago, and excited to and love being a part of this team for the past 4.5 years. That is a little bit about me, and hoping to get to know you guys a little bit more through this process.
Yeah, so not only is, she here in an admissions capacity, it seems like the perfect opportunity to share really as a subject matter expert in all of our student engagement activities, both through curriculum, co-curricular activities, clubs, all of that stuff that makes so much of the experience in the MBA program. So I'm glad Lee is here and joining our team. She's got a wealth of knowledge for you. So I guess to get us started, before we dive into kind of the things that are important in terms of applied learning, let's talk about the University of Georgia and the Terry College of Business itself. So these are just some stats. You can probably find them on our website. I think what I referenced before about a lot of change and growth in our program, when I first started 11 years ago, we were very consistently ranked, mid 50s. And like I said, we've been enabled to take some risks, to make some changes, and really help our students meet and exceed goals every single year. And we have seen that through their success and through our rankings. And so we're now very consistently ranked in the 30s, and we're very proud of that. As a public institution, we're obviously ranked even higher in terms of US public institutions. And I think, a ranking is just one thing. You also want to be looking at, employment outcomes. You want a good return on investment, right? So, I think this speaks loud and clear. 98% of our most recent graduating class were employed at the 3-month mark. And then 100% of our, current second year students participated in an internship this year. And average salary and signing bonus of this most recently admitted class, $142,000. And so, we're seeing a lot of these things. We're hearing a lot of these things through employers and how satisfied they are with our students. Not only are they able to show up in terms of the academic background, the hard skills, but really where we're hearing a lot of positive feedback is on the soft skills that our students are going into these organizations with. And I think a lot of that does have to do with our program offerings. All right, so go ahead and kind of give you a little bit more information about the University of Georgia itself. We are located in Athens, Georgia. That is the University of Georgia's main campus. We're approximately an hour northeast of Atlanta. So essentially we have the best of both worlds as a small college town, but we also have a lower cost of living and less traffic. And we're obviously very close to one of the nation's largest business hubs. So that makes it pretty convenient to meet with employers and meet them where they are, which oftentimes, I think now, especially after the pandemic, that seems to be somewhat of a trend. I think there's a little bit less in terms of on-campus recruiting, but that's okay. We're adjusting. We're flexing to what the market needs are. And so in addition to having those Atlanta resources, we obviously have a very large, broad-based alumni network, both from the University of Georgia and the Terry College of Business, in addition to the MBA alumni network that you have exclusive access to as a student in our program. Athens is unique in that we have a very large and thriving nonprofit and small business, I would say, community, and that those are organizations in which our students have the ability to tap into while they're here, and not only kind of gain experience by having practical ways of, utilizing the things that they're learning in the classroom in real world scenarios, but I think as a small business and a nonprofit organization with maybe tight resources, you have an opportunity to give back to these organizations while you're here in this program and really leave a lasting impact and impression of the Georgia MBA program in this community. The University of Georgia, I'm sure this number is larger now, but has in the past been able to have $6.5 billion of impact on Georgia annually. So it is obviously a flagship kind of institution for this state. And luckily we are able to be able to take advantage of being a public institution and offering high quality education and experiences at maybe a lower cost, which makes our return on investment extremely high. All right, I'll go to the next slide. And I think in terms of what we do, we are fortunate enough to have a very small program and where we can really provide personalized support. So we can help you develop your soft skills through a tailored career course. And we're going to help you develop your resume and pitch and improve your interview skills. And most importantly, you have staff and faculty that know you on a personal level. We know exactly what your goals are, how to help you achieve them, and we'll work together with you to figure out to build your experience in our program. We obviously are going to facilitate the opportunities to connect with employers, help you focus on your search, and ultimately market your talents. And we'll connect you with the right alumni at the right time through networking events and identifying job fairs and other ways to get in front of employers. The applied learning piece, as we're here today to discuss, is a large component of our program. And so I do think that is kind of one thing that I think a lot of schools are talking about, but I can personally testify to the fact that we live and breathe this here at our program. And then I mentioned, return on investment. We're fortunate enough to have that lower cost of tuition as a public institution. But we also do have very generous donors and alumni support that help us further reduce the cost of attendance through scholarships and other merit aid. And then, we already talked about high employment rates, and, hopefully all of you are going into some incredibly lucrative and satisfying careers after the MBA. All right, so I'll turn this over to Lee to kind of talk about how we kind of categorize our applied learning opportunities here in our program.
Thank you, Kara. So talking a little bit more about applied learning and what that means and how and why it's impactful for your MBA journey. So, outside the academic classroom, students typically at most MBA programs will have an opportunity to engage in experiential learning opportunities. And what does that mean? This means that the the knowledge and the skills that you're getting in the classroom is how they are being applied to a opportunity that you may have after post MBA. And so we want to make sure that you know how to utilize those skills and to be able to build on those soft skills to be able to be successful in the career that you are pursuing. And not only that, but it enhances your experience in the program. You realize that academics is important in understanding those skill sets and the foundational knowledge of it. But we also want you to apply those skills in any kind of setting, whether that's in a corporate setting, whether that is in if you're interested in the building on your community, or learning how to work in teams. Just all of those components is essential as you are navigating through an MBA program. And that could come from different opportunities, right? So we within Georgia have, project courses. I list specific courses that students have been able to participate in throughout the years. There's certificate programs, co-curricular, and clubs. And so, every school is going to have a different way of essentially exposing you to these opportunities. But within Georgia, you have project courses. And so within our curriculum, it is a requirement to do 2 capstone projects if you're in the 2-year full-time MBA program. And so, that can be done in your second year, or most students will spread them out in your first and second year. And so you have an opportunity to work with a corporate partner in some capacity and work on a project all semester long to be able to come up with a solution that a problem that a company has. And so we're mindful with these companies that they, one, have a meaningful experience for our students, and 2, is there an opportunity to work with this company in the future? And so we try to check 2 of those boxes off as we are recruiting corporate partners for these project courses. You also have an opportunity to get more into the community side of things, or more into the entrepreneur innovative business projects. Has a lot of companies that work within this specific course that are maybe looking for answers outside the box a little bit. Maybe not so much a corporate answer, but also have an opportunity to be innovative. A little bit on the service learning side of things is that students have an opportunity to, like I say, connect with the community through a service learning opportunity or a B Corp assessment if it has more of a sustainability, social innovation component to it, to where students work with either a local company in the Athens area or within the region. Some companies in Atlanta, Macon, if you're familiar with any of those cities in Georgia, have been able to work closely with those companies to become certified within a corporation, what we call B Corp. You also have an opportunity to travel within the 2-year program that Kara mentioned in the first slide, where our students were in South Africa. That is our international residency program. Students during spring break have an opportunity to travel internationally to learn a little bit more about the culture, but also the way that they conduct business within their whatever specified country we decide to visit. But you also have an opportunity to do projects within that international residency. So businesses within that certain country will have projects that students will work on in teams at the very beginning of a spring semester, and you work with that company throughout the first half of the spring semester, and then you have an opportunity to present your findings as you're traveling on this trip. So those are kind of our credit opportunities that our students have an advantage to do. The co-curricular is more certificate programs, nonprofit board fellows program. We also have students encouraged to do case competitions and volunteer within the program. And so these are extra things you can do to perhaps make you more marketable But also, is it important for you to understand, Lean Six? Is that going to be helpful in your career? Are you looking to have more of a leadership role or finding yourself as a leader? That is what the Leadership Fellow Certificate does. If you're interested in connecting more with the community, and maybe not just with Athens, we don't expect our students to stay in Athens, but to serve on a board that you may be interested in doing wherever you find yourself in your career. And so this kind of gives students an opportunity in a non-voting role, but to be able to serve as a leader and a voice within an organization. Case competitions is a highlight for some of our students, that you are kind of giving a timely case, and you come up with ideas for a company in general that is producing a solution in a quickly, timely manner. So some are drawn out a little bit longer, but the general consensus is that how well do you work under pressure, and what ideas do you come up with in a very short amount of time? So a lot of students do have an opportunity to do that. We do have resources to make sure that students can be successful in a competition that they're interested in pursuing. Typically, they are 3 to 4 students to a team, and an opportunity to travel to other institutions, usually public universities and private universities as well, to kind of showcase what ideas you have for that particular competition. We also have a component of volunteer opportunities that we are requiring our students to complete in their 2 years here. We have opportunities that are a little bit more outlined for our students to participate in. Leadership Fellows is a part of that. So if students decide to pursue that certificate, that kind of gives that volunteer requirement check marked. But we also find that students gravitate to other opportunities that are meaningful for them. And so if that is an opportunity that you see or perhaps you have been engaged with before and you just want to build on that opportunity, then there is some, flexibility there. But we want to be mindful that our students are serving back into the community in some capacity. Another section here that we have a lot of students engaged with are clubs within our MBA program. So if there is something that aligns with your interest, most of these clubs, or actually all of these clubs, will provide some kind of programming within their association. So for instance, the Graduate Women's Business Association will bring in speakers that speak to women on how to best negotiate. So if that's just one example, bringing in a speaker on how women can be leaders within certain organizations. Our Georgia MBA Veterans Club will speak to students about how to navigate life post-military life or career. Consulting Club will bring in speakers that how to assess case studies, or how to, if you were to pursue a consulting career, how best to work with clients in that kind of relationship. So those clubs are specifically student-led, and we do expect students to come up with the ideas, but you also have the resources around these clubs to help boost that the programming that the students are interested in navigating that process through. So just kind of sharing a little bit more about the projects, kind of going back to the credit courses that align with our projects, is that since 2017, and there's been more than that, but this is when we actually started tracking and requiring students to be a part of the project courses. We have worked with a lot of partners in the past, but over 150 projects between fall and spring semester, and even over the summer as well, as students are in their internships and maybe want to continue that relationship with a partner. We've been able to continue those projects over the summer as well. But since 2017, we've had over 150 projects that our students have been have teamed up with. Just a few examples of partners that we continuously have relationships with are more in the Georgia area, but we have gone outside the Georgia area as well. A few consulting companies I have listed there are Adco and Daughtery. Global Payments is a fintech company. Synovus is a bank, if you're not as familiar with the Southeast region. Cox Enterprises and Arby's, if you are into restaurants and marketing on that front. So just a few companies that we have worked with, and like I said, have a continuous relationship with, and they are meaty projects. And what I mean by meaty is that you are usually given a data set or information that may not be public information from the company, and the companies are looking for the students to come up and use this information to come up with a resolution that perhaps the company may not have the bandwidth to investigate or to come up with. And so they like the MBA skills that the students have to be able to brainstorm and their past experience brought into the projects to kind of come up with a solution that could be beneficial for them. I'll speak a little bit about a nonprofit board fellows partners that we have continuously been working with. And what the nonprofit board fellow opportunity is for students is you do start in your first year and matched with a company that speaks to you. And so we've had organizations such as the Cancer Foundation of Northeast Georgia, the Athens Pride. We've also worked with Children's First, which is a foster care system here in Athens. So if you want to work with children or work in that capacity, I feel like that there's something that could speak to everyone. And so the students are paired with this organization in your first year, as I said, as being a board member, non-voting role, but you are engaged with the community, you're engaged with other board members and participants that are in these organizations, perhaps in a capacity to plan events or to coordinate an event that could happen, within itself or within the community. And so our students find it rewarding to be able to contribute and be impactful as a student and their service here within the 2 years here. So I would encourage students that are going through an MBA program that if they have some kind of opportunity to engage with the community, it's always been meaningful for our students, and to be able to give back as well as develop those soft leadership skills that employers are looking for. And so if there's not something such as this within an MBA program you're looking for, I would encourage you to find some kind of community engagement within an MBA program. So those are kind of more of the experiential learning opportunities that our students have been able to connect with. Like I said, other MBA programs are going to have some kind of component to this. We feel like that this has been the trend that employers are looking for, but also the students and prospective applicants are looking for, is that they want it to have a meaningful experience within the program. And so some applicants that are looking for an MBA are kind of pivoting their careers a little bit, but also maybe finding their voice, maybe finding their impact, maybe finding a way that they can contribute back to have a more meaningful career. And so that would be my suggestion is as you are looking through MBA programs, making sure that the experience that they offer is going to be meaningful to you as you are going through your MBA journey and what you want your journey to look like. And, as I mentioned, that not to say you have to do it all, because on top of academics and on top of, the other things that you have going on in the 2 years that you're pausing your career, encourage you to find your fit and find what's most important to you before choosing an MBA program. And so always get to know what is there and find and have the best experience you can, because you're investing 2 years of an education and to make it meaningful for you. If you're interested in learning more about our programs, we have many opportunities to be engaged. You can find us on social media, our website. We have a YouTube video. We also have a podcast. If you are a podcaster and have moments in your car or by yourself and want to listen in and learn more about a faculty standpoint, staff standpoint, students are probably on all of our episodes that talk about their experience in the program. So I would encourage you to listen to that. We also have a blog that is tailored to the student experience as well.
Yeah, and actually I'll say that the Dogs on Top podcast, while it was produced kind of when we were all working remotely and trying to find a way of sharing out experiences, it does have a lot of great stories about these projects and the applied learning opportunities that our students pursued while they were here. So if you're specifically looking for more information about kind of what those projects look like from a student experience side of things, I definitely listen in on some of those podcast episodes. So yeah, thank you, Lee. On the next slide, I have additional contact information. So if you do have follow-up questions, or maybe something very specific to you, or you want more information about our process, we have the ability for you to schedule a one-on-one appointment with an admissions counselor. So you can do that by going either to our website or scanning the QR code here. Obviously, there's a lot of information to sort through on a website. We know it's not always easy to find the information you're looking for. I encourage you to, do your due diligence, look for the information, but of course, reach out to us if you have any problems with it. But we are here to kind of talk more and answer questions. So, we'll let, I guess, Mike, if there are any questions that you feel like we should address first.
Sure. Thank you, by the way, for sharing that information. Really well done on the presentation. And we do have a couple of different questions that have come in. So I'll go with ones that are more related to the topic. And then, of course, you're going to have some admissions questions coming in. So we'll try to take care of those in order as well. So the first one that came through would be asking about the types of experiential learning and in quotes, right? So the types of skills from that learning style and activities that would be available to students in the full-time MBA.
I think I understand the question. I think in terms of the skills that they're gaining, well, one, I think these are experiences that you can quantify and demonstrate on your resume, which is going to be key in terms of discussing those experiences with employers. Sometimes these projects and relationships that you have with corporate companies or nonprofits, sometimes that's a great network in to whatever internship or full-time job offer you're pursuing. Obviously, the skills that you're gaining most likely are going to be a lot of softer skills, presentation skills, how you synthesize the data and tell the story. I think those are probably what you'll gain the most through those experiences. I don't know, Lee, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, that's great. What I would add is if you're looking for more specific skills and you're interested in, say consulting or marketing or operations, the capstone projects that are tailored to those experiences would give you the marketing skill sets or the consulting skill sets that you may not have been exposed to before. You wouldn't have to come in knowing those skills. So if you are say that you haven't had exposure or haven't worked in consulting before, but you're interested in there, you don't have to have those skills to do these capstone projects. That's what they're there for, is to expose students to what it would look like if you were, for instance, working with a CMO, and you haven't had experience with marketing yet. That's what that capstone is for, is to be able to work in that capacity and to build some of those skill sets that, like I said, you may not have been exposed to before.
Okay, thank you for that one. Relatable to that, so within the realm of the different activities that you're offering and different ways that these students can get more involved with these types of opportunities, how do the internships in those summers, how does that relate to all of this? And are you promoting this experiential learning type of learning style within those internships? Like when you're setting up those opportunities with companies, is that part of that process as well?
I would say that, we want the internships to be meaningful. So if you're choosing a concentration with an MBA program that speaks to what you would like to have a career in, then yes, we connect with employers that have meaningful internships so that you can not only build on what you are learning over the summer, but it could also change the way that you thought about finance. For instance, if you were pursuing internships with a finance role, and then you realize that, oh, I do want to do this, or I don't want to do this, then that gives you an opportunity to do that. But if you know that that is something you want to pursue, and you have a great experience, a lot of times that it could turn into a full-time offer. So those relationships that we have with employers are meaningful. And it goes back to project courses too, is that when we're looking at working with a corporate partner or looking with an employer that hires students in internships or capstone projects, we're also looking at the future relationship with that too, and what that looks like for the student as they are going into their second year after completing an internship.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned sometimes it's easier to figure out what you do not enjoy and what you don't want to do than find the thing you want to do. And another joke we have sometimes during some of our events that we do at ClearMid is, when you write those essays about what's your post-MBA goal and where do you want to get into, and tell us the position and tell us the company. I don't know how it works at University of Georgia, but any of the schools we always ask, I don't believe those essays come back out during graduation and they don't check it off and say, oh, wait a minute, you told us consulting, you're going into tech, you can't get this diploma. Like, you're supposed to do these types of, whether it's experiential learning or different internships or speaking to the program advisors, the career advisors, you're supposed to find yourself. That's why you're there for 2 years and not 6 months, right? I mean, that's part of that transformation within the program. So speaking of which, so a question that came in, how about for someone who may have a little more experience, right? So they mentioned 14 years, but just we'll say 10 plus, right? That are trying to go into a program. If they're doing more of a pivot, not a full-on career transition, right? What do you recommend for that type of an applicant? What should they be looking into? And is that okay to do in the University of Georgia full-time program?
So I will say, what I would be looking at as an admissions representative of somebody who has 14 years of experience is, what do you have to gain from our program? What can you actually learn that you haven't already learned through experience? And so that'll be important for us to understand, because it does kind of exceed the average work experience. What are employers' expectations? Will they see you as being overqualified for the roles that they're hiring for MBA students? So that's a lot of that consideration in terms of is having too much experience in trying to go into a full-time MBA. And there are other options, obviously, for working professionals, online programs. I know that there's, if you're trying to make a pivot, you're not exactly happy with the organization or the job that you're in currently, sometimes doing that part-time or online, that transition can be very challenging. So it might just be a matter of finding the right fit in terms of programming. Maybe you're looking at more of an accelerated MBA format, maybe where you can just kind of go in, and I've seen where there are some programs that allow you to just essentially do the concentration component of an MBA, because you probably already got the business fundamentals that are part of the core curriculum behind you. So there's those kind of considerations. I wouldn't say it's a no-go necessarily for a 2-year full-time MBA. I just don't know if it is the best choice for you in terms of return on investment.
That's a great answer. It's a very honest answer as well. So I do appreciate that.
I always give it honest, whether you want it or not.
No, that's great. And I think that's another thing for folks that join, like the folks that joined us today, like ask these questions. Like that's why there's sessions like this. It's why you see the information on the screen right now. Like reach out to Kara's team, because this is where you can get those kinds of answers and really see where your fit is and what this program can and will do for you. So great answer, great question, great answer on both sides. So we had 2 questions come in. They're very similar, but for different industry sectors, but basically asking if you can give any specifics on whether it's clubs or concentrations or things involved in today's session for supply chain operations, and then also for tech. If you can give any examples of like really great stuff you have going on in those fields.
Yeah, 2 things that we're able to share on both fronts is for supply chain is we are trying to build out a capstone experience for those interested in supply chain. We have seen an increase of demand from our students that would like to see a little bit more of a component to supply chain. So we do have a capstone that is we're building out from that. As far as tech, we do have, we know that analytics and data is on the rise. And so not only do we have a concentration in business analytics, but as far as projects are concerned, there are some data components that would help, maybe not as meaty or as data centric as a project, but there is some groups would get some data to help in the business decision process. We also have a fintech concentration that works with, if you're interested in the financial piece of technology, then there is an opportunity to do projects within fintech. I mentioned Global Payments was a partner that we worked with last year. And so it was looking at, credit cards and how they have, been utilized and in more of a corporate setting. So there are, opportunities throughout the MBA program that would touch on analytics and data and a little bit of tech there as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all of that. So basically there's a lot going on. There's a lot of options for folks. And so, continue to read up on that stuff on the site for those who ask those questions about those specific fields. Definitely a lot to look into there. Now we have a couple of application related questions. I was trying to keep them kind of organized here. So one quick one is for international applicants, do you require a WES evaluation?
We do not. You certainly, if you have one, you can certainly upload it. We do require, unofficial transcripts from your university. So in terms of being admitted to the program, that's when you would have to submit official documents. But just in terms of review, we just need to see unofficial.
Okay, sounds good. For testing, so do you accept, which test do you accept? We'll start there, right? Because there's a lot of options these days. So that, and then do you have any options for waivers of those exam requirements?
Yeah, so GMAT, GRE, there's no preference there. So either one is acceptable. Obviously we probably have a good bit of international students here. So IELTS TOEFL, Duolingo are also required, or one of those it would be required. Again, no preference over which type or which test. There is an option to waive out of the GMAT or GRE requirement. We do, at a minimum, require you to have at least 3 years of full-time work experience at the time of applying to be even considered for it. In addition to it, you would also need to have some other demonstrated quantitative background or academic background, professional background, skills that will help us determine if you are academically ready for the rigor of our program. Now, again, that's through the application. So you can find the details directly in the application itself. You would submit your application to be considered for a test waiver. We do have, I would say, a limited number of test waivers that we can provide. I will say that submitting a GMAT or GRE is a way to help balance out any weaker areas of your application. So if maybe you didn't have the best undergraduate record, this would be a great way to help balance out that weaker area. And I think it demonstrates your readiness academically in general to kind of prepare and take those exams. So, there are also plenty of schools that will require the GMAT or GRE for any merit aid decisions. And so you want to be very careful and pay attention to that as you're applying to programs too.
Yeah, great point, and great segue into another question about financial aid and scholarships. So if you could give a little summary on how that works with your program.
Yeah, so every admitted student is considered for merit aid. We will do that process during the application review. So at the time of an admissions offer is when you would get a merit aid package offer. A lot of our 2-year students are eligible for our graduate assistantship position. So with a graduate assistantship, you receive a tuition waiver. So it's nearly full tuition waiver. I think you pay $25 per semester as tuition. And then for the work that you do as a graduate assistant, usually for a Terry faculty member or a program office, you would also receive a stipend for that work. So a small monthly paycheck. I think it's roughly $10,000 per academic year, split out in monthly payments. We also have scholarships that can also be combined with graduate assistantships, and those range anywhere from $1,000 to about $18,000 to $20,000 per academic year.
It's great, $25 tuition. My gosh, I can look into that.
Right?
That's not too bad. And how do you apply for the grad assistantship? Someone just wrote that in. Is that separate as through the application?
It's through the application. There's nothing else that you have to do. There's no separate process. It's just everyone is considered for it. There is, I think, an indicator, a question if you want to be considered for financial aid or merit aid. Obviously, your answer would be yes if you were interested in those opportunities.
That makes sense. Check that box. Read those applications, folks, because you don't want to miss that opportunity. Let's see. So one other one that came through, and this may be a nice Google search, but I'll ask it anyway. The MBA plus MSBA program, dual degree, I assume is what they mean by that. If there's can you share any more about the total program duration for that and any costs associated? There may also just be a link we can probably just share in the chat, but take that on.
Yeah, so this is a newer opportunity. I guess past 2 years we have been running this option for students. It is a nice way. So our MBA by itself is not STEM designated. So for all of you international students, the MBA on its own is not STEM designated. However, we do have an MS in Business Analytics program that we also run that is STEM designated. And we also find that a lot of people are really interested in that more technical aspect of the MSBA in addition to their MBA. So what we offer is your ability to apply to the MBA, MSBA STEM track, and you would submit one application through the full-time MBA, and you're considered for both of those programs. Now, we do have some kind of conditions that you have to meet by the time you roll around to your MSBA year. Obviously, you need to be passing your classes. You need to be performing well in some of the more quantitative, data-heavy courses in your first year. But then otherwise, you're kind of rolled into the MS Business Analytics program in your second year. So it is a 2-year duration. It is 2 degrees, so you get both degrees, and you are considered for the same merit aid opportunities as our 2-year MBA program.
Awesome. It sounds like a good thing. Continue to read up on that as well for the person who asked that question. That was the majority of the questions that we have coming through the chat. One thing that's always nice to kind of maybe close up on, unless another one comes through, but any advice to folks who are interested in your program, who are here today, who are listening through the session, got their questions answered? Is there anything else that they should know about applying to your program at this stage, right? So we're kind of in between some deadlines. Maybe what is the next deadline as well for folks that are looking to put an application in, and then any advice you have on putting together an acceptable application so you can have some extra bulldogs in your seats next year here.
Yes. So yes, the next application deadline is coming up in December, and the final application deadline for international applicants is for our round 3 application deadline in March, and then we'll have one more application deadline in May for anyone else. And so really the way we evaluate applications is round based. We will look at all the applications that are submitted with all of their materials, test scores, everything, and then we will issue decisions as a round group. So if you apply for our December deadline, which I'm pretty sure is December 10, and you have your test scores and everything on file, then you will get a decision in January. So that's kind of, you got to think about when do you need a decision and work your way backwards. In terms of learning more about the program and being prepared for the application process, I would encourage you to kind of maybe attend some additional events. We have program overviews where we're going a little bit deeper dive on our MBA program in the University of Georgia. So that's another way to learn more information. And most definitely reach out to MBA ambassadors, learn about their experience, get a good idea if this is really a good fit for you. Because if you aren't sure of that when you apply, it's gonna come out in kind of how your application package is put together. We can kind of clearly see where there are people who have done their research, they are ready and interested and really putting their all into an application. So definitely learn as much as you possibly can through this process. And we did see some questions about application fee waivers. We will have a list of attendees from Mike and Clear Admit, and we will reach out to you directly with information there.
There we go. So with that, I want to thank you both for today's presentation, for this great information. Thanks to all the attendees who joined us and stayed up pretty late or got up early, I guess. Depends, right? It could be either way there. So thanks for hanging out and getting all this. Again, this session was recorded or is still being recorded, and we will post this link to clearadmit.com and then email it to everyone who registered for the event, so you'll have a chance to go back, review the information and check everything out. Their contact information was just on the last screen, so feel free to reach out, whether it's to the admissions team at Terry or it's to student ambassadors, get that information and really understand where you're applying. It's a great school, a really pretty campus, really nice weather too. Like there's a lot of good things going for this school. So if you are interested, I'm glad you were able to attend, and hopefully we'll see some applications to UGA Terry in the next few weeks here as that deadline creeps up. So thanks
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
All righty. Bye, everyone.
Bye.